All right, guys, we are at live stream number two. Live stream number two. I'm your host, John, and you are watching Pixics in Korea. So, if you guys had a chance to check out my last live stream, we are doing a little thing here where we're doing a little grocery store tour. And we are at last live stream. I featured Super One, which is in Buena Park, California. And for those who don't know, I don't live in Korea. I live here in America. So in today's live stream, we are going to be visiting H Mart in Lakewood, California. So a lot of the grocery stores that you're going to see, a lot of the live streams that I do will probably be in areas where it's at least within a 1 hour drive from where I live. Well, anyways, before I get started, first, I'd like to shout out some of my listeners. So, new one on my list is Kazuma Torin Spotting You. Spotting You. That is, man, I'm telling you, that is a tongue twister. So Kazuma just kind of came on and just makes his like little short comments here and there. But man, when I see those, it's always a good thing to get a little notification of a new comment coming in. But he actually has a gaming YouTube channel. So at the end, if you guys can stick out long enough, I will give you guys a little tour of some of my viewers here's channel. And then the next one is the OGs. It's Kareem and Zeddy. Kareem also is a YouTuber. He's actually a musician, a hip-hop musician out in the UK. So by the end, if you guys can stick with me, I'll show you guys their channel, and we'll do a little commentary. We'll see. But anyways, to give a little history on this H Mart is not local to LA. It actually started, it's a pretty old establishment. It was founded in 1982 in New York. And back then, it was just a small Korean corner grocery store. So can you imagine? This is what we call the American dream. How immigrants just come to this country and they just find success. Isn't that amazing? And since 1982, they've started a nationwide expansion. So this is probably the biggest grocery chain that I know of that has locations throughout America. And from the last count, they have 84 locations. And this was actually a surprise to me, but they've gone international as well. So they have markets. I think they have one market in Canada, and they have two in the United Kingdom. So for Zeddy and Kareem, if you guys can just Google up H Mart and see where the nearest is, I'm telling you, it probably has everything you would want as far as your need to get some authentic Korean food. So go check them out. Anyways, I also want to mention that you might be asking, what does the H stand for H Mart? Well, it actually stands for Han Adum. And it loosely translates, and I'm just taking Wikipedia's at face value, but it says it loosely translates to an armful of groceries. So that is H Mart. That's where we're at. And this location in particular it might not be their newest location, but in my opinion, it's one of the newer ones. It opened up in 2018, 2019. Before that, it was an American market called Bonds. And around that time, I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were, I mean, I don't believe Bonds has gone out of business. I still see locations around California, but maybe they were getting rid of locations or stores that were underperforming. But regardless, H Mart has taken over this spot. And in the first 2 years, I remember in the first 2 years of this market, I don't know what it was, but maybe people were just not used to that area being a Korean market because it's been an American market for so long. But for the first 2 years, there was almost nobody in there. It was nice for me because I love shopping in places that barely has anybody or any customers. I've just recently found out I'm actually an introvert. So I love to go places where people aren't really there or it's not that crowded. So it was great for me, but in my mind, the whole time I was thinking, how this market's, if they don't get more customers soon, this market's gonna completely close down. There's no way they can stay in business where there's only a few people coming in and out every day. Well, something happened during the lockdown periods, and all of a sudden, I guess the word got out about H Mart, and it's been packed ever since. So on the time that I'm going right now, the parking lot was so full. I had to kind of do one of those things where I circle around a few times just to find a spot. But it just went from almost nobody there to being like you can't even find a parking spot when you go during busy times. So typically I like to shop here in the mornings because that is when you find the fewest people. But because this day was kind of an emergency, I was actually out here to buy soy milk specifically. That's why I'm at this soy milk section. But the thing is that I usually would not come out at this time. This is maybe towards the evening. So about the soy milk, we're here at the drink section, and you might have noticed that the whole entire aisle in this store of this section right here, everything is just drinks. Just floor to from the bottom shelf to the top shelf, all drinks. It might be one of the biggest drinks section compared to the other Korean markets. This might actually be one of the bigger ones. You might want to fact check me on that, but they have a pretty decent sized drink section at this H Mart. And that's not unusual. That's not unusual for Asian stores, Asian markets, because they just have so much different varieties. I mean, I'm here looking for soy milk. If you look just from this screen, they have at least 10 or 15 different brands of soy milk. And they're mostly Korean brands, I think. I think they're all Korean brands. Like how that even works? Like how do you get this many variety of soy milk from a country that's about a quarter of the size of California? There really isn't. I mean, it is a country of 50 million people, but you would think you would only need maybe a couple of different variations of soy milk. But I think they have like, just there alone has about 10 to 15 different brands. Not even like different flavors, it's just brands. It's just, there's some kind of competition going on soy milk. But our family, we're not really big on soy milk drinking. I grew up drinking some of it. maybe towards the later years of high school. But we as a family don't really drink it. And I don't know if you've heard, but soy milk has a a chemical, not, I don't want to say chemical, but it has something called a phytoestrogen. I think that's what it's called, phytoestrogen. And if you are a male, you should be very aware of it. It may be urban myth, I'm not sure, but I just don't want to take a chance of drinking something that gives me too much estrogen as a man. We just really have to be aware of those kind of things. And my wife, she doesn't like the flavor that much either. But in the case that I was buying it for, it was just a special circumstance. But anyways, as you can see, I don't know why this market is built out this way, but it's like they ran out of shelving or something, and they just kind of converted the whole left section of the store into just stacks of boxes. But it does have a pretty impressive, selection of dried food items, which is it's always nice to have something like that. And I want to get back to what I was discussing before about the personality test. Sorry, I'm gonna probably be going on a tangent, but it's just something that I've been looking into a lot lately, just because for the longest time I never knew what kind of personality I had. Like I said, I never thought of myself as an introvert. But I took this personality test called the Briggs-Myers, and it turns out I am something called a INFJ. And if you do a little Googling on INFJ, it is said to be one of the rarest type of personality, which makes sense because while I was growing up, I always felt different from most people. But it's really interesting to know what I am, because I was trying to be so many things that I wasn't. But to find out what my personality is and then actually read about other people's experience with that personality, it gives me a deeper understanding of my motivations and why I view the world the way I do. And the fact that I'm actually an introvert makes complete sense now, because I do enjoy being out in social situations, especially with a group of friends. Like if I don't see people for a while, I'll start missing it. I'll start missing hanging out with friends. But I also notice that if I'm always around people, then I get this feeling of wanting to just like get away and be alone and kind of decompress, which is exactly what happened when I went to this festival last summer. And I realized that even one day being there, meeting all these people, I mean, they were real cool people. I related with a lot of them. But after about a day of just socializing and talking, I got this urge to just escape. Like I just need to get out and leave the festival. And so I'm just going to embrace it. I'm just going to embrace being an introvert. And an introvert doesn't even mean that you are shy. It just means that you find energy. An introvert finds energy in being alone, while an extrovert finds energy in being with other people. So it's really I think it's important to kind of understand what you are. And I recommend everybody, if you don't already know what your personality is, go look into the Briggs-Myers personality test. And another cool aspect of it, about this personality test, is that it finds compatible personalities to yourself. So we actually gave this test to one of our friends, and I found out the perfect personality types that would get along with her, which was funny because her personality and our personality actually is one of the compatible personalities. So a lot of it is just, everything just clicks together. It's really cool. But anyways, getting back to the grocery store. Sorry, I'm going to be doing a lot of rambling. Usually in these live streams, it's always good to have a conversation with your listeners. But in this case, I think most of my listeners, because this is a fairly new channel, I get it. There's not going to be a lot of people there. But usually these live streams are a lot more fun when there is viewer interaction. So you're just going to be hearing me ramble for one whole hour. And I actually made sure to make this one a bit longer, because the last live stream, and what I like to do is I like to record these scenes of me just going places, kind of like walking tours. And in my feeling, I think like an hour is a pretty decent time for a live stream. But when I recorded the first one, I actually ran out of batteries, so I only had about 40 minutes for the live stream. It was just a little bit too short. So this one, I made sure to kind of stretch it out a little bit longer than that. So I think this is a little over an hour. But yeah, I mean, I just wanna, because I'm not in Korea, I try to find, for these live streams, content wherever I'm at. So maybe I will be traveling in Japan and I will live stream from a Korean market in Japan, or maybe a Korean, or maybe like a Korean barbecue place. You know, like I could even be in Italy, going to a Korean barbecue place. Like, the sky's the limit. The channel is basically, it's about Korea and beyond. So that beyond part means anywhere I'm at, if there is something Korean about that location, I'm going to record it and I'm going to show it to you guys, and hopefully you enjoy it. And frozen food is pretty big in Korea as well. And this section is going to be definitely a lot different than what you see in American markets, because of course most of the items here will be frozen food. And it's literally anything that you can think of. Koreans have figured out a way to freeze it, preserve it, so that you can have that same restaurant experience at home. So you really don't need to go to a Korean restaurant. A lot of times they will be more expensive, just because it's like the experience of going out and eating. And of course, in America, it's customary to give tips. So you're gonna be paying way more for that meal when you could literally just go to a Korean market and pick up one of these already made frozen items. And sometimes they're not frozen, you know. I think earlier I was showing some ramen and udon that was it wasn't the frozen section, it was in the refrigerated section. So there's just a lot of foods that you can get that taste pretty authentic. You don't have to go to a restaurant to have very similar food, basically. But there's so many things for us to pick up, you know, as parents who are very busy. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but we do homeschooling, which is why last year we were able to go to Korea for a month. because we homeschool. There's a there is a subset of homeschoolers where they are like kind of a traveling homeschooler. So I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called world schooling. So we're kind of having the world school experience out in Korea. But anyways, as a homeschoolers, man, as homeschool parents, I feel like this is my opinion, but I feel like we are way busier than if you were able to drop your kids off at a school. Because with school, I mean, when your kids come home, a lot of times they'll be busy doing homework. So there may be more downtime for parents just in general because of that. When you're homeschooling, the kids don't have that much homework. I mean, they do have some homework, but it's really self-studying, and once they get done with that in the morning, they pretty much have the rest of the day to themselves. So we are just so busy doing parenting, just normal parenting things, plus holding down a full-time job. It gets very hard at times to prepare a home-cooked meal. So, man, this is one of the best things about coming to Korean markets, is that you have food that actually tastes like real food. It may have preservatives, the ingredients may not be 100% organic, but it is a lifesaver when you're trying to feed 3 kids 3 square meals a day. You know how many dishes it takes to cook up 3 meals? At least if you go to public school, at least one of those meals, or maybe even 2 of those meals, are cooked by the school. Excuse me, Sorry, I don't know what's happening today. I have a little bit of a sniffle and a cough. I'm not getting sick. It may be seasonal allergies. So I will probably be sniffling, muting the mic and sniffling every now and then. But anyways, getting back to my point, it is a godsend to have a Korean market where and one of the things a couple of things that we always like to get is, one of it is the dumplings. It just feels like a real meal just to eat dumplings. And another thing is the corn dogs. The kids love the Korean corn dogs. And Korean corn dogs are very different than American corn dogs. It's like they took the American concept of a corn dog and just went wild with their imagination. It's just on a different level. For example, what they usually like to get is these corn dogs, but the inside of it is filled with mozzarella cheese, and you may have a pork sausage, you may not. A lot of times what we have, especially the ones we grab here from the frozen food section, a lot of times there will be fish cake in there. So they're getting their fish, which, as you know, is the omega, right? The omega nutrients. Really great. I don't know what it is, omega-3? But really great for your hair, your skin. You need some omega, right? So they get the fish cake, they get the mozzarella sticks, and the icing on the cake is the potatoes. I think they call that a potato dog or something, but that's one of their favorites. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know what it is. I've thought about this for a few years now. It seems like a lot of inventions come from America or the West, right? And Asians are usually improving whatever has been invented. So it's like this really great cooperative relationship that Asians have and how the West or Americans have it, right? Because think about it, televisions. I don't know any televisions these days that you could buy at a store that isn't some kind of Asian brand. You know, they're usually either Japanese, Korean, maybe sometimes Chinese. But is there like a brand of TV that's made in America? I haven't. I don't ever remember seeing one. I remember seeing a Philips television back when I was younger, but like now, yeah, I don't think so. It's just Asians took the concept and ran with it and improved on it, and they're just like it's like the mantle has been passed over. And I feel like a lot of foods like the corn dog is having that same thing. And now I'm seeing a lot of corn dog places because we do have an American corn dog place here. I think it's called something on a stick. See, I don't even remember the name. Something on a stick. Dog on a stick? I forgot what it was. But there was this really popular corn dog place that I don't really see anymore. And now I'm starting to see, out here in America, I'm starting to see corn dog places that are inspired by Korean corn dogs. So the one that we went to recently, oh, I remember, it's called Hot Dog on a Stick. Yeah, that's what it was, Hot Dog on a Stick. But I recently went to a place, it's called Two Hands. And that is a Seoul or South Korea inspired corn dog place. And we made a mistake. We actually ordered corn dogs that were, well, I ordered one that was on the sweet side. It was like a rice cake inspired corn dog. So it tasted way too sweet for me. Even the sauce, it tasted more like I was eating a dessert. It wasn't too bad. If you have a craving for sweets, I don't think it's a bad thing to eat. But, usually when you get a corn dog, you're expecting something savory, right? But yeah, I completely made a mistake on that. I actually made a post on it on Instagram and on my community post in YouTube, kind of explained the situation. And I got my wife a potato dog, but I didn't realize that by default, they spread hot Cheetos, crushed hot Cheetos on top of it. Yeah, crushed hot Cheetos. So that, she explained it to me. She was saying how that made her stomach hurt. We haven't eaten Cheetos in a long time, which is funny because I just recently ate a bag of it. But as a family, as a whole, on average, we haven't really eaten Flaming Hot Cheetos. And recently, it's come out that what they use to color Flaming Hot Cheetos, which is called Red 40, is very unhealthy to the point where it's been shown to cause cancers. So, and it's not just hot Cheetos. Anything that uses red food coloring is Red 40. So it may be just another scare tactic. I think because I used to eat a ton of Flaming Hot Cheetos. I was addicted to it. But I think if you eat it in moderation and not too much, your body has an unbelievable ability to heal itself. So I don't think you really have to worry like a crazy amount about these kind of things. But it's definitely something to be aware of, right? I mean, you don't want to be consuming too much of these. They're not even really food. They're just chemicals, right? Like things such as preservatives. We all know preservatives are bad. I think that's why we have a lot of people that get colon cancer, to be honest, because what organ touches all of these toxic chemicals the most? It's your digestive system. So it makes sense that you would get colon cancer if you consume too much of these preservatives. That's why, I don't know if you've noticed throughout my shopping right here, I am looking at the ingredients because I'm trying to make sure that, and this is my rule, if I can't pronounce the ingredient in that is listed on that packaging, then I will not get it. If it does not seem like anything, if it sounds like some kind of science word that I've never heard of, some kind of chemical compound, I know instantly that's not food. So that's been my rule, and that's the rule that I've taught my kids. My son actually has been doing it better than me. When we take him out shopping, he'll just go right and look at the ingredients just to make sure there's nothing bad in it. I really want to instill in my children that kind of health consciousness. My younger ones aren't too much, but they're young. I mean, what are you gonna expect? But my oldest one is definitely always on the lookout for anything that, like I've taught him, if you can't pronounce it, then that's not for us. If it's some kind of weird word that you've never heard of, that's not for us. So that's usually what we do when we go out grocery shopping. I'm very proud of him, very impressed. And I would say that's also a big benefit of homeschooling too, because who is my kids around most of the day? It's the parents. It's going to be siblings, right? We're going to always be there. So of course we're going to be a gigantic influence in their lives. And because health is a very important thing for me, that automatically kind of transfers over to the children, what I believe. So another thing I was looking out for while I was shopping here, and one of the things about going to Korean markets for us is just the amount of time the time it saves us from doing any kind of meal prep, because they just have so many things that all you need to do is heat it up. And the same thing with this, if you've ever been to a Korean barbecue, you know how expensive it is. Well, it turns out you can just go to a Korean market and pick out a meat that's been marinated in basically the same thing and have a Korean barbecue experience right at home. You don't need to spend $100 plus on a meal. You can just pick up one of these. I think that was only like 10, 15 bucks. It wasn't even that expensive. And that would have been, for our family, that amount of meat. You mix in the rice in there, you mix in some other side dish. Like that amount of meat can be 3 meals for a family easily. And what I picked out was something called bulgogi. So bulgogi, I think the literal translation is fire meat. I think that's the literal translation for bulgogi. So that's our Korean barbecue, right? And of course, there's other things that's also Korean barbecue, like the short ribs. I actually heard that the short ribs, where the ones where it's like 3 pieces of bone, sliced pieces of bone, where there's like meat surrounding it, like, so that's the rib, right? That kind of cut actually came from LA. So when I was in Korea, I kept seeing LA style short ribs. I mean, they even put in their LA, like Los Angeles. Los Angeles and Korea has a kind of interesting relationship too. A lot of K-pop artists that come from America are actually from LA. So it almost seems like LA is just an extension of Korea. It's like a weird extension of Korea. It's kind of strange. And I found out recently that LA is not even the most populous region of Koreans. I don't know when that happened. I always thought LA had the most Koreans in the whole United States. But I've been reading, there's a place in New Jersey that actually, like that county in New Jersey, has the most Koreans in the country, which it kind of surprised me. I didn't think that was what it was. I thought it was LA. When they had the 100th centennial, they had a 100th centennial celebration of Koreans being in America. Because we've been in America way back in Hawaii, right? So in Hawaii, way back, there was Koreans there over 100 years ago. So I'm actually surprised Hawaii is not the most populous state or region for Koreans. But I remember we had like 100-year celebration, and it was at the football stadium at USC. So they were having a free concert. Can you imagine a K-pop concert for free? So you just had to reserve the tickets. It was a completely free tickets, but they had reserved the entire football stadium, and it was like this 100 years celebration of Koreans being in America. And I always thought, oh, that they were just doing it there in LA because that's probably where the most Koreans were. But they must have migrated out of the state. A lot of people are leaving California because it's so expensive to be here. But I guess maybe within the last couple of decades, a lot of Koreans just left, migrated to other states. And so you'll have places like this New Jersey, this city in New Jersey that I've never heard of, or this county is supposedly has the highest density of Koreans, ethnic Koreans living there. So I found that very interesting. It was I always thought it was LA. But anyways, yeah, LA has a very weird, or I've got to look into it because so many K-pop artists came from LA. They even have, not in LA, but the nearby county to LA, in Orange County, Buena Park. They actually have a K-pop center there. So it's the only one that I know of in America. When we were in Korea, there was many of them, but I went into one that was at the COEX Mall in Gangnam, and there was this, I think it was like this building with like 4 or 5 floors, all dedicated to training people. They call them trainees, training people to become, they call them K-pop idols, but anything. I went in there, I checked it out, and they had like a dance studio. They had like little rooms where I think it's for singing. So they're just like from top to bottom trying to make you into this K-pop performer, right? And I saw a large one. This was this large one in Gangnam, in Seoul. But they also have one here in the States, and the only one that I know of is right here in Buena Park, called the K-pop Center. I don't want my kids to be anywhere near that kind of industry. I think the behind the scenes of a lot of entertainment is, it's like what they say, like you're selling your soul to the devil. I think it is very similar to what they claim it to be, right? So, my kids, I'm very protective of them. So there's no way, knowing what I know about how entertainment works, there's no way I would want them to get into that kind of industry. But I was actually looking at this K-pop center because I like dancing. Koreans love to dance. I don't know about just any Korean, but I know I like to dance, and I know my mom likes to dance, right? So I did consider, and I don't want to brush past this, but we are at a new market right now. I'll get to that after I finish this story. But so at the K-pop center, I was considering just putting my daughter in there just to learn how to dance, not to be a K-pop star or audition for anything, just to dance. And because dancing is such a great way for a person to express themselves physically, right? I mean, there's a lot of ways to express yourselves through art, through writing, but I think dance is one of the physical mediums a person can express themselves creatively. So I do get the sense that my daughter likes to dance, so I don't want to take that away from her. If she's interested in it, I want her to pursue it 100%. I'm so supportive. I'm always looking out for what my kids like, what I see their talent is, and then I will push them 100% on that, to the point where I don't even want them to give up, right? Like I will steer them towards that interest until it's just like, I don't know, like it has to be some extreme circumstances for me to just will allow them to give up on something. But anyways, as you can see, if you were paying attention and not listening to my crazy rants, but we are at a different place here. So earlier we actually went to a new market. This is what I was talking about. Like, I want to extend my live streams for over an hour if possible. And earlier when I was spending an hour at a grocery store, that's kind of extreme, especially when you're only getting a few things. So there's no way I was going to be able to extend my video for an hour at H Mart. So this is another day. This is probably a few days later, and we are at a Chinese New Year's festival. I think we're like a month out from Chinese New Year at this point. It took me a bit to kind of put this all together and then launch this live stream. But yes, earlier I went to a different market to pick up some Korean food, which I think we got some snacks, we got kimbap, and some drinks. I think that's what it was. And I think we might have gotten mandu as well. So we got a few things, and we're gonna just come out to this place, which is the South Botanic Garden, and just have a picnic out here because they were doing a Chinese New Year festival. And this garden is a paid place. Like, it's not just open to the public. You have to pay for admission usually. And we were fortunate enough to get a few tickets. Just, because we do some things in social media, so we got a few pro bono tickets to come here to Chinese New Year. And we don't actually celebrate Chinese New Year. I told somebody recently we didn't celebrate because we're Christian, but turns out that's false, because there are some Christians that I hear that do celebrate Chinese New Year, but they just don't go all out like this. They'll probably have a dinner, it'll just be it'll be more reserved, right? But growing up, and I've been going to Korean churches pretty much up till college, and when Chinese New Year's came around, we never celebrate Chinese New Year's. So I didn't even, and my mom didn't celebrate Chinese New Year's. My mom barely celebrates Christmas. She doesn't even put up a tree. She put up a tree one year when I was 7. No, I think I was 4 or 5. But 1 year she had a Christmas tree, and then it went back in the box, and it was one of those fake Christmas trees. But it went back in the box, and I never saw it again. So we don't really celebrate any holidays growing up, and especially a holiday like Chinese New Year. I mean, we never did that at all. In fact, the only New Year's we celebrated was the actual New Year's, when December turns into January, right? January 1st. Like, that's the only New Year's that we celebrated. And and I don't know if this is kind of like an evolved type of custom, because a lot of Koreans out here are influenced by the American culture as well, right? But I remember growing up, and I would go to an elder and I would bow to them and I would say, "새해 복 많이 받으세요." I don't even know what that means, but all I know is that whenever I say those magic Korean words to an adult, a Korean adult, they give me money. It's like the easiest way I've ever made money in my life, is to just go up to a random Korean adult, not random, probably like a family member, but just go up to a family member, an uncle or aunt, anybody who's like an elder, a grandpa, grandma, and just say the magic words, "새해 복 많이 받으세요," and all of a sudden, just like an ATM, they'll hand you a nice crisp 10. If you're lucky, you'll get a crisp $20. Man, that was like my experience growing up celebrating New Year's. Was this like the Western New Year's, not the Chinese New Year's, the Western New Year's, and you say magic words and you get money. Like that was my experience growing up celebrating New Year's. So when I started learning about this Chinese New Year's thing, and I knew about it from watching TV, watching movies, I heard about it, but I never officially celebrated Chinese New Year's. And I don't even, to this day, I still don't know everything that's all that's entailed, right, to even celebrate Chinese New Year's. But that's how ignorant I am. I don't know. Like, I know Koreans do celebrate it. I think all Asians celebrate it. But for some reason, my experience growing up, I mean, we just completely ignored it as any kind of holiday. But yeah, it's cool. Like, now that I have a family, I have kids, I'm all about exposing them to anything that's, here's the thing. As long as it's wholesome and educational, I'm all down for exposing them to those kind of experiences. That's why we travel so much. I'm kind of giving them the childhood that I wish I had growing up. So yes, I will go out to Chinese New Year's, even though we're Christian. It'll just be like any other kind of event for us. There's nothing bad about coming out here and doing these kind of events. In fact, these are really nice for the family as well, because they have arts and craft tables. So my kids got to make some lanterns and I think like a fan, and man, it's so different having sons and then having a daughter. Boys are kind of like, they're kind of easy in a lot of ways, There's definitely a difference. Even though my boys have different personalities, like they act like boys, like the stereotypical boys, that's how they act. But with my daughter, like I'm starting to notice all the things, like I can, because a lot of women like to do crafting. That is a thing. My wife likes crafting. A part of that is like scrapbook. Like, you don't really see men doing like things like scrapbooking or crocheting. Michael's, like we have a store called Michael's and Hobby Lobby. These are arts and crafts stores. That's mainly for women in a lot of cases. I mean, men can do it too, but just demographically, on average, it's typically females that do that kind of stuff. And it's so interesting to see my daughter, who I never exposed her to any of these. It's just she naturally gravitates towards doing arts and crafts. So as soon as she saw the arts and crafts table, it was like she instantly wanted to go. It's like she was drawn to it. It was like a moth to a flame. Just watching her, like I don't remember my boys ever being that way, But when with her, and she's always doing stuff, even at home, she's always, she loves Play-Doh. She loves mixing things. I can really see her wanting to do baking, because I just observe her and she's like mixing things all day. She's experimenting, and like, you should be a baker, because that's pretty much what you would be doing as a baker. You would just be mixing in ingredients, experimenting with flavors. Like, you should go into something, or at least try to attempt, like make it a hobby at least to do baking. But it's just really interesting having a daughter. And then, like, my first two borns were boys, as you can see, right? And they're pretty much, I raised them almost the same way. I mean, they have different personalities, but I pretty much treat them the same way. Once I had that daughter, I had to adjust how I am as a parent. Oh man. You know, I mentioned earlier that how I'm sniffling and I'm coughing a little bit. It's probably seasonal allergies. For the last month, more than a month, for a while now, ever since I started this YouTube channel, I've kind of gone full on YouTube mode, social media mode, and I'm just really in an experimentation. And it's great because like I've gotten so many more subscribers in the last 4 months. And this is not my first YouTube channel, but I've gotten so many more subscribers from this Korea channel. Just the rate of growth compared to my other YouTube channels, that it's like it motivates me. It really does motivate me to just go out there and really continue and focus on this. But I got to a point where it was just taking over so much of my time, and a lot of it was just a wasted time. It was just me refreshing my analytics over and over again. I would sometimes just sit there like 30-40 minutes just looking at analytics, and that time I could have probably be spending it editing a video, right? And I'm not talking about like, I still spend time with my family. We're always going out places. I try to make that a priority, but just when I have free time. Because before, when I have free time, I would probably do something in the garden, right? Something on the house, because we always have house projects. But in the last 4 months, because I'm trying something out new here that I haven't done before, and seeing if I could make something of it, and it's actually working. I went from zero, like nothing channel, and like nobody knew about it, to now having over 300 subscribers within 4 months. So for me, that's impressive. Like that's the fastest growth I've ever had in anything I've done on social media. But now that I have a system going, I have an actual, because my system is, I will spend time. I have to at least spend 1 hour a day editing, and then maybe 30 minutes to an hour just engaging in random housekeeping things on my channels. And so one of those is I like to put a community post every day. I like to, and now maybe a couple weeks ago, I started an Instagram channel or Instagram account and a TikTok account, and I have a Twitter account. So I've just been cross posting those content onto those social media accounts. And so besides the maybe 30-40 minutes of what would I say 34 minutes of just doing some maintenance and maybe spending an hour or so editing, I mean maybe 2 hours a day, I should probably, if I was spending my time wisely, I should be spending about 2 hours a day every day on this, which is not that much. I can do that at night when the kids are asleep, right? And I can still do all my gardening, all my housekeeping things. Like I should really limit it, but I was finding myself just sitting there in hours and hours, just reloading and just looking at my analytics and doing nothing, just looking at my analytics. And it was getting obsessive, and I would just be out and about, and I would just get the urge to just look at my phone every 30-40 minutes and just keep checking up on my analytics. It was becoming very obsessive. So I'm trying to cut back now on a lot of that. And I've been doing this for a few days where I just want to cut back and just stop looking at the analytics, just take a breather, because that time should be spent doing gardening, doing housework, maintaining, even cleaning, even exercising, because I like to at least put in 30-40 minutes of calisthenics every day. And even that was kind of slipping, right? So it was just a lot of things that I just, like I said before about the personality, I'm an INFJ. So INFJs are like perfectionists, right? and we like to set lofty goals, big goals. So that's one of the things, like we can get caught up in our own passions, and because of perfectionism as well, it just really, we're almost like autists. I don't consider myself autistic at all. Have very high empathy to the point where it's ridiculous. Autistics can't read facial expressions, so I know I'm not autistic, but we have autistic tendencies as INFJs, and I think that helped me kind of break out of a lot of, or at least try to attempt to break out of a lot of the behavior I was engaging in. So let's hope between now and the next live stream I get better, because self-awareness and calling out negative behavior is really the first step to healing anything, right? And I'm not like crazy addicted. Like I've never even drinking. I mean, like I've never done any drugs. I'm pretty clean. Like alcohol, I only drank a few times in my life in social situations. Like I don't have very many vices, except for YouTube. YouTube is like my first, I would say, real addiction. It's getting to that point. It's very addicting. I mean, seeing you guys, like I said, Kazuma, Torin, supporting you, Kareem, Zeddy, you guys are feeding my addictions. Serious. Every time I see those likes, I see those comments, like that feeds me. Not your fault, just how I'm wired. I thank you guys for the support. And I'm still gonna try to go out there and try to put out the best content that I can for you guys. But I need to stop looking at my analytics for 3-4 hours a day. That thing is getting ridiculous. That's all I'm saying. But if you guys were paying attention, sorry about another rant, but if you guys were paying attention, we're just having a nice picnic here in sunny California. California has really nice outdoor weather. And here's the thing, this year has been fairly wet. It has been a fairly wet weather. So there was a lot of days back in January, February, where it was just raining, like almost nonstop. We had huge rainstorms, which is not typical in California. A lot of times in California, it's very dry. We have very little rain, but this year and last year has been just, it almost seems like record numbers of just rain. I see this kind of rain maybe once every 5-6 years. It's never to the point where it's like year after year. I love it. I love when California gets super green, but just not used to it. And even though I love rain a lot, one thing that I do feel, if I get stuck indoors for too long because of the constant rain, it gets me very antsy to want to go out. So I completely understand people who are from the Pacific Northwest, where most of your days are just overcast and you rarely get to see the sun. Like, I hear that can cause a form of depression. I hear that causes a lot of depression in people because the sun is very energetic. It gives you a lot of, I mean, people need vitamin D, right? That was kind of like the big things during the lockdowns, is people need to get out. That's one of the most healthiest things you can do, is get out, get sunshine, right? So it's great that we had a day like this, because a few days before this day and a few days after, it began to rain again. So it's like, it was just perfect that it was, wow, we got to come out to this beautiful botanical garden. And I didn't talk enough about what it is. So this botanical garden is in a place called Palos Verde. And if you haven't been to a Palos Verde before, it looks like you're in Italy. It's such a beautiful place. And I don't know the history of this garden. I think a lot of these botanic gardens were self-organized by volunteers. And it's gotten big enough where, you know, they probably get grants from the government along with admission and donors. But this garden, it's a very nice space. We took a walk around here, and it almost felt like I got transported into some kind of national forest. Like it didn't even seem like we're in the middle of the city. And it had a pretty decent sized hiking trail. I think it was a good couple, not a couple miles, maybe a good mile if you were to do the entire trail. We really didn't have the time to explore because before coming here, we did our son's jujitsu class. So we're just kind of coming here, getting into it like early afternoon. And we like to get to bed at a reasonable time. So usually after a few hours, maybe 3 or 4, we're already ready to leave. So I didn't get to explore more of this botanic garden. I hope to come back and really check it out because it was a beautiful place. Like it doesn't feel like you're in California. It's so nice here. But yeah, definitely I'm glad that the weather really held out so that we could enjoy at least a day of sunshine on Chinese New Year. So we're almost towards the end of this video, but also end of our meal here. And I should discuss what we had. I got a bulgogi kimbap. My kids don't actually like kimbap, and a lot of kimbap has fish cake as one of the ingredients. And my family doesn't really like fish. I understand. Fish has a smell to it, an odor that it takes getting used to. Fresh fish, I found out, doesn't really have so much of that odor, but in general, fish has an odor to it. So if kids don't like it, that's understandable. So to get them to eat kimbap, because kimbap is like the perfect picnic food, you just eat it cold, right? It doesn't need to be heated. It's like the Korean version of a sandwich. So anyways, so I got them the bulgogi kimbap and the spam kimbap. And it was surprising because my kids don't really eat spam, but they just dug into it. It's almost like a spam musubi, actually. They've had spam musubi before, but I don't think they made the connection that was spam. So I told them I got them bulgogi and spam because I want them to eat. I don't want to get them something that they're not going to eat, or they're just going to eat the chips and not touch any of the kimbap. And then they're going to just complain, right? They're just going to complain how they're hungry for the rest of the day. So I didn't want that. So I made sure I got something that they would eat. So I got the bulgogi and I got the spam. And it was an interesting kind of experiment because the spam just went out like hot cake. That was their favorite. I thought it was going to be the bulgogi. So now I know next time I get them kimbap. And for those of you who don't know kimbap, I mean, they're eating kimbap right now. It's kind of like, almost like you can call it Korean sushi, which is not sushi because there typically isn't anything raw. There's no raw fish in there. But now I know spam is the kimbap that they'll eat. For next time, I'm gonna have to remember to get that. But spam in itself, I grew up. That was my favorite thing, and I didn't realize how popular spam was in Korea. But growing up, my mom would always make me breakfast, not just breakfast, but she used spam for a lot of things. She would put them in omelets, which is one of my favorite things. It was just omelet and spam. Man, that's so amazing. Or she would just cut them in slices and fry them, and we'll just eat it with rice. It takes almost no prep. The spam is already prepped. You just open up a can, you slice it up, and you fry it. Serve it with some rice, serve it with some eggs. It's just like, and spam's probably not good, to be honest. I mean, I haven't really checked out the ingredients in spam, but it's probably not healthy for you. But it tastes so amazing. The thing is, once I got married and had kids, I don't know why, but we just never bought it, and prepared it at home. So my kids, for the most part, haven't grown up eating spam. And it wasn't until I went to Korea, because last year we were actually living there. Usually when we go to Korea, we're just doing some kind of like a bus tour, or we're like some kind of tour package. Usually we do some kind of tour package when we go, or there was the one time, but I only stayed like a week. So we never actually really engulfed ourselves in the culture like we did last year. And going to some of these markets, like one of our favorite markets out in Korea, our supermarkets, is Lotte Mart. So Lotte Mart is this gigantic. Every Lotte Mart is like, it's like take Walmart in America and just give it a whole bunch of steroids. That's what I would call Lotte Mart, because they'll have a gigantic grocery store. Usually that's on the first floor, and then you go to the next floor, and that's like a Target. It's like you're in a Target. They even have a lot of these Lotte Marts they must have made an agreement with Toys R Us, because there's like a Toys R Us inside the Lotte Mart. Toys R Us pretty much went bankrupt in America, but you go to Lotte Mart, there you go, that's a Toys R Us right there, right? And then sometimes they have 3 or 4 floors, which would be a lot of shops. It's literally like everything you would ever need, and they call it like a hyper store. That's how crazy. Like, it's just everything you would ever need in one place is Lotte Mart. But anyways, to get back to my spam story, when we're in Lotte Mart, I saw varieties of spam that I've never seen in my life. Flavors. In America, it's usually just, I think they're just spam, and maybe they just recently came out with a spicy spam. But when we were in Korea, it was this whole shelf of spam with different flavors. So next time I go to Korea, we didn't buy any because, like I said, we don't really eat spam. But next time we're in Korea, I'm actually gonna go and buy myself a can of it and just eat it and just see how it tastes, you know? All right. So here we are. A lot of you guys will probably see this on the replay. It was unfortunate that no one got to check out the stream live, but like I said, I'm a new channel. It makes complete sense. I understand how it is. Everybody's got busy lives. So I'm just grateful for anybody who can check this out on the replay. But before I check out completely for this live stream, and this live stream is a little weird. The last live stream, I don't remember hearing my voice. And I don't know, maybe it's something with my setting, but this entire live stream, I'm just hearing my voice echoing back at me through the headphones. So it's kind of throwing off my thought process. So I had to mute the sound for most of it. I like to hear the music while I live stream usually, because the music kind of gets me in a very flow state. I'm not a natural speaker. I wouldn't consider myself very well-spoken, very articulate. But when I put the music on, it just gets me into this nice flow state. And it's kind of unfortunate that I'm just hearing my voice this entire time. I don't know. I might have to learn how everything is set up here on StreamYard. But it's just kind of throwing me off, and it would have been nice to hear some of that music while I'm speaking. But anyways, like I said, for those of you who stuck out to the end, let's do a little reaction video on some of my listeners here. It's just something fun I like to do. Just something fun I like to just be out here and feature some of my listeners. But let me get this set up first. Give me a few moments. I should have done this before, but today was just a really weird day. I had a huge morning where we were just picking up these free paver stones. So good part is I got my morning workout, but bad part is it just wasted me for the rest of the day. And then I spent the rest of the afternoon picking weeds out of my grass because I like to have as pristine as possible lawn. Like I said, as a INFJ, and you should actually look it up. But INFJs, one of their thing is they're perfectionists. That's kind of I would say it might be a strength, but also it's definitely a weakness, especially if you can't reach your goals. Very discouraging for people like us. Zuma has one of the longest names I've ever seen. I don't even know if I spelled it right. Let's see. It is, let me see this. You know what? I'm just gonna get it from the comments. Holy cow. So I'm into this thing. I've been looking into this thing called gematria. It's kind of like what the meaning of numbers. And in gematria, the 33 has a lot of significance. So 33, you know how we have 33 vertebrae. It's just throughout nature, you just see this number, 33. And some people say that's like your guardian angel speaking to you. But I'm like looking at my subscriber count right now, and I should show this to you guys. It's very interesting. This is very interesting. So I'm just looking at my subscriber count, and it's 333 right when I'm doing live stream. That's not a coincidence. You might call me crazy, but that is, I always see that number whenever something's significant, or I just feel like I'm getting some kind of sign right now. I don't know what it is, but usually when I get this number, it's like almost like, oh, you better start paying attention because something's gonna go down. But that's so interesting. So you're gonna get a little peek into my YouTube world here. I am breaking my rule. And there's Kareem always coming out with those comments. And Kareem, I think he is also he might have been a motivational coach or something, or a life coach. Sorry, I kind of dug in, but he might be a life coach. I think that's what he is. And it kind of shows by his comments. But there you are, Kazuma. Torin spotting goo. Okay. He has a type of gaming style channel, a lot of shorts here. Some of it might not be family friendly, but I'm guessing this is towards the end, and most people probably checked out. But let's look for something that, and he does a lot of shorts. Very cool. Definitely a gamer. I used to be a gamer back in the day before having kids. Even when I had my firstborn, I played a pretty decent amount of games. But it's just it feels like every year there's just an escalation of just things in my life that just takes up my time. So since games are has never been a priority over other things, it's just kind of fallen to the wayside. And nowadays, the only time I even get any exposure to games is when my kids are playing it and I'm just hearing the game as background noise. So the most exposure I have with games these days is just hearing my kids playing the Switch. Man, I always wanted to be one of those dads that would play games with my kids, but that's a commitment too. That is a commitment, and that's something that I've kind of dropped the ball on. I take my kids a lot of places. We always have dinner together, or for the most part, we have dinner together. We have conversations. I read to them. But when it comes to playing video games, you would think that would be one of the things that I would actually be there with them and enjoying. But let's check out some of the shorts. This is literally just a shorts channel, but based on the thumbnails here, it looks like they're very high quality shorts, and it looks like he's a King of Fighter fan too. So, man, King of Fighter. Okay, let's see what this is all about. I was never great at fighting games, but it's just nostalgic to just see these. King of Fighter, Street Fighter. That's cool. Nice. Maybe one day I will do a stream where I'll bring one of these guys on if they don't mind being on the live stream. I know it's not always people's favorite thing to do and literally this whole stream there hasn't been anybody listening, so it's just me talking to myself. So it's nothing like being out there and speaking to a crowd. Maybe one day I will have people, but definitely today's not the day. And just my second live stream, no big deal. Law of attraction, guys, look into it. Always have that positive mindset. And let's check out something else from here. I must have watched this already because I liked it. Yeah, so it looks like Kazuma, his channel is mostly about featuring. I thought these would be game clips. Let me see this one. Seems to like this one too. They're just screenshots. It looks like they're just screenshots of cool gameplay art. And I heard about this one. Yeah. Akira Toriyama's dead. The legend. Dragon Ball Z was one of my favorite anime growing up. It was like, even to this day, it's probably one of the only ones that I want to actually watch again. Just so addicting. I tried to watch One Piece and I don't know what it is, but I just couldn't get into it. It was just, the pacing of it was just too slow for me. But I just love Dragon Ball Z. It was just, to me, it felt like the first of its kind, of that kind of genre of anime. But dude, I don't know when this picture was taken, but he looks very young. This is probably not recent, huh? Man, when I heard the news, I was just like, I wasn't like crushed. I don't idolize anything, to be honest. I just have a appreciation for it. I didn't even know what he looked like, to be honest. That's how big of a fan I am. I don't even know what the guy looks like, but it's crazy. Yeah, it just makes me feel old, like aged. That I'm at a point in my life where a lot of the things I grew up with, a lot of the creators of all this content that I grew up with, is just dropping off one by one. Man, crazy. And and this month and last month has been filled with a lot of deaths. Not really just in general, but even in my own family. We just recently had our dog die. So I've never experienced a death of anything. I would say thing, because I'm including my dog. I've never experienced I've never experienced death in such a personal way like that. So I think it will prepare me for the time that my parents may go, but it was wild. It was wild. I mean, I didn't think I would cry to that level. I don't usually cry, but that day I just could not help myself but cry. I mean, it's my dog. We had this dog before we even had kids. I mean, our dog was like our first baby, pretty much. And for her to just die, and now it's just like, it feels, that first couple of days where she wasn't there was just weird. The house was just very empty. Felt like something was missing. It still does feel like that, but over time, especially for me, over time, things kind of heal up. a lot of the mourning process. What I heard about mourning, and I did a lot of research on this because I was going through it. But when you're mourning, to it's not good to bottle it up. It really isn't. If you were to bottle up your emotions, it has a way of coming out in weird places. You know, it's never good to bottle up emotions. You have to just let it out. You have to let yourself cry and be in the moment and get through it. Because after that first cry, I instantly felt a little bit better. I still missed her, and that night I was thinking about my dog, but you know, just having that cry and letting myself go through the emotions and be vulnerable to it, that really helped a lot. I'm telling you, helped me get through it a lot quicker. It's not that I wanted to forget, but I just can't be in that state of mind because it's very important to have positive mindsets. Life is energy, and this might sound very woo-woo. I totally believe it just because of what, just me going back and just analyzing my personal life, and just like I'm an old guy now. I'm not old, but middle-aged. So I've gone through some things. Oh, geez, guys. Did I? Oh man, sorry. I was I had the screen share on a completely different screen. My apologies. Hopefully my rant was interesting enough to keep your attention. But yeah, I was completely on the wrong screen. I was sharing the wrong thing this whole time. This is what happens. You are not really prepared. But that's because Kazuma Torin Sapatingyu's channel. A little bit risque, but yeah, there it is. Akira Toriyama dead. So he's about my mom's age. Very interesting. He's not a super old guy. Very surprised. He's pretty young, maybe 70. Yeah, I consider 70 to be pretty young to be going at that age. Yeah, rest in peace, Akira. I didn't even know what you looked like, so it's very interesting. Okay. Anyways, yeah, I went on a whole rant before. I don't even remember. I think I was talking about my dog's death. Okay, and then the second guy, my man, Kareem, out in UK. Let me do this properly. These guys have YouTube channels. I don't know if Kazuma really is promoting his. It just seemed like a lot of a lot of his shorts, which is great. Do what you love. The YouTube is the platform where you can literally just get out there and express yourself, if anything. I was just thinking one day, I was like, man, in what time in the history of man does a guy, just a normal guy, have so much reach out into the world? The fact that I'm making videos and a guy like Kareem out in UK can watch it, like, that is just amazing technology. It doesn't matter if you don't get millions of views. In fact, that seemed like a nightmare to me, for people to just know me everywhere I go. I wouldn't want that. I do this because as an INFJ, we like making people happy. So if I can make a video that makes somebody's day or educates you or helps you out in any way, like, I've done my job. And like I said, seeing those comments, seeing those likes is kind of that is my sign that I am doing things that are enlightening, or not enlightening, but entertaining people at least. And that makes me happy. That in itself, like, I don't need the millions of views. I'll be happy. My goal, actually, my dream goal for the channel is just to, like, put out content and get 1,000 views, and I'd be happy with that. you know. So that's really how low I set the bar for my channel. But if that's all it is, and it just gets out to the 1,000 core people that just love Korea and love watching travel content and just want to learn about the culture, and it just makes your day, like the videos not only entertain you, but it makes you laugh, right? It makes you think. Then I've achieved everything I needed with the channel. So anyways, thank you guys. Thank you, Kareem, Zeddy, Kazuma. Thank you guys. Hopefully I don't scare you off in any way. But this is Kareem. He's the OG hip hop YouTube artist here. And it looks like he released a new song in a month ago. So this is the first time listening to this. I'll turn off this music and let's take a listen to what Kareem's got. And then with that, I just want to talk about one thing before I leave. You know, for you guys are probably going to be like anybody who makes it this far is the hardcore live stream watcher. I mean, we're like over an hour. I hope this is interesting to you guys. I'm just sitting here rambling. But you know, let's watch this. I'll give my reaction. Low down version. Oh, I like this one. I played the other version on my last. I played the other version in my last live stream. So this is a slowed down, I think a slow jam R&B version of it. I like it.
You know I want it, yeah, you know I want it. Yeah. I really am the man. I love you, Nina. Dance away. It's the dirty boy way. Straight vibes and when you all in my face. Till the moonlight fades away. Show me what you've got. Give me and I'm planning to sleep. Just move to this beat until the sun comes up. I want that love I got for me, or just stop. I like them feet, I like them ankles, them legs. Can you see why I pass on a bargain bucket?
By the way, Kareem is a huge fan of Jennie from Blackpink. So, FYI.
On the whole meal, yeah, not a side piece. Good people deserve world peace. So get them thirsty till they on their knees. You know I want you. You know I want you. You know I want it, yeah, you know I want you. You know I want it, yeah, you know I want it. Yeah. Dance away. It's the dirty boy way. Straight vibes and when you all in my face. Till the moonlight fades away. I'm too cold and she's too hot to ever take scripts. That's why I'm here with you. Cause if you saw it my way and pause, you got all these.
I could totally see this being played at like a prom. I didn't go to my own prom, so can you? Doesn't it seem like you could play this at a prom? Do a little slow dancing. The last song at a prom. I don't know if they have proms at the UK.
You know I want you. You know I want you. You know I want it, yeah, you know I want it. You know I want it, yeah, you know I want it. Yeah. Dance away. It's the dirty boy way. Straight vibes and when you all in my face. Till the moonlight fades away.
Nice job, Kareem. Get that nice slow fade out. Really cool. Really cool. Okay. So as you can see, everything that I've been watching in the last few months is right here. But before I leave you guys, I do want to highlight this. So I just recently found out that there's a martial arts that predates Taekwondo. Everybody knows Taekwondo, right? It's the kicking martial arts of South Korea. I mean, they've turned it into an Olympic sport. But there is a martial arts that predates it, and it inspired Taekwondo. I feel like Taekwondo is a much more stripped down version of this martial art, but this one is called Taekyon. It dates back to the Joseon dynasty. So this is the old school. This is before Taekwondo. This is like Taekwondo's grandfather, great grandfather. And the reason why I want to highlight it is, I don't know if you guys ever watched these MMA versus some traditional martial arts type videos, but more often than not, you will always see the traditional martial arts just get crushed. Like, they're not even on any kind of level. Like, they might as well just be a street brawler. A street brawler would probably have a better chance at fighting these pro MMA fighters. Like, it's better they didn't learn anything at all, right? I would probably, maybe the last 5 or so years, you have seen like karate, especially with karate, with Machida, kind of showing that traditional martial arts does have a place in MMA. And then there's also another guy, I think his name is Jair or something. He has like a Taekwondo base. So he's known for these crazy like Taekwondo, almost like Tekken style kicks. But anyways, usually in MMA, especially in the stand-up game, a lot of these traditional martial arts always gets crushed. I mean, if you're pure karate, pure Taekwondo, pure Kung Fu, pure any of these, you would usually not have any kind of chance against an MMA fighter, even if it's just stand-up. Taekyon is the only martial arts I've seen that actually gives pro MMA fighters a good fight. Like they're legit. It's legitimate. And I don't know why more people don't know about Taekyon. It's so fun to watch. Even just the sparring that they do, it's so fun to watch it. It's a real fighting system. And the thing that makes Taekyon very unique is they utilize these kicks. A lot of times they will either hit you in the shins, somewhere on the leg. They'll do a lot of low leg kicks, but there's just this inside kick that they do. It just comes out of nowhere and just hits the person in the face. It's just so dangerous. Like, it's amazing that I feel like it's a secret. It just feels like it's a well-kept secret in Korea. I know this guy, and this guy's like he's the leading expert. He's the master at Taekyon. And it seems like he has notoriety in Korea, but outside the country, not many people know about him. And I know he wants to make Taekyon an international thing on par with martial arts like Taekwondo. Now, and I really should have prepared this ahead of time, but there is one specific fight or sparring session that really impressed me about Taekyon. And that's what I'm trying to find right now. It's Taekyon versus an MMA guy, this one. Now watch this. If anybody who's a fight fan, this is impressive. Like, this guy's MMA guy right here. And this is Taekyon. He's wearing the Korean traditional clothes. So that's the Taekyon guy. But just watch a little bit of this fight. And he does this move too, where all his moves seems to throw him off guard. I might want to start from the beginning on this. I'm not gonna take you through the whole thing, but just show you a little bit of this fighting style. I don't know why more talking about Taekyon, to be honest. In Taekyon, it seems like it's allowed to evolve as well. As you can see, he has like a boxing box. So it's not, I think it's a martial arts that's not limited to tradition. That it can evolve with the times of whatever works. Almost like what Bruce Lee's philosophy was. Just take what works and then bring it into your fighting style. Look at these low kicks that he's doing. He does that like low kick that hits your shin. It just comes out of nowhere. And it just throws you off balance. Like, remember, this guy is a professional MMA fighter. Professional. He's not like an amateur MMA. You saw that kick just now? There's no telegraphing. It just comes out of nowhere. Oh, I think further. I think it was here, right? Look, if that would have hit him, it would have been lights out. Like the kicks, Taekyon fighters, the kicks come out so fast. Like you don't even see them. Like, look, he just did another front kick. The level of skill in a Taekyon fighter is kind of unreal for a traditional martial arts. A martial art that dates back to the Joseon Dynasty. It looks very much like kickboxing, but not really. Like, he's actually giving this guy trouble. The MMA guy. I mean, there is obviously a size difference. Like, this guy is way bigger than him. But usually, to an MMA fighter, if this guy was just a kung fu guy, he would have been done. Look at that. He just did that shin kick. Look at that. Shin kick, right leg. They just chop you down. The Taekyon fighters, they just chop you down from your leg. And if you ever take a leg kick, you just saw that? Let's watch that. Bam. Bam. Another thing about Taekyon is they incorporate a lot of stand-up grappling moves and takedowns, almost like judo. And this guy, the camp that is Mad. Mad is one of the top MMA camps in Korea. I've heard of it before, Mad. A lot of fighters from that camp. You see, like, this guy was not a professional. This is the sparring section, but the fact that he was like literally even. And now this is second round, so they're gonna really open up the on this one. Did you just see that? He changed levels and you can read him in the head. The kicks just come out so fast and in direction. Like it's hard to read. But there's some history that I looked up, or there's some tournament. He's the master of Teknon, and he has experience with boxing, and you can see with the hands that he has incorporated Teknon, and they've incorporated boxing. And then you combine the boxing and the kick. That's a pretty cool combination in my opinion. I mean, just look at that. He's going toe to toe with a pro fighter. If that front kick connected to his chin, lights out. Luckily, like it just popped in the area. Like I'm telling you, if this was a Taekwondo guy, I would have been gone already. Like we are talking about this traditional martial art that goes back to the Joseon dynasty, like a new martial art. I have no idea why Korea replaced this really cool, and they don't just do hand-to-hand combat, they also teach a weapon system. So they teach sword work, weird weapons, and it's really crazy that Teknon did not got replaced by an almost useless martial art like Taekwondo. Like when MMA started growing and we all knew that Taekwondo is not an effective fighting style, it just embarrassed me. As a Korean, knowing that you're known for this martial art that is literally only good for someone who's untrained. But if you have any kind of training and like, it just completely, even boxing, I think, someone who doesn't. Taekwondo doesn't train anything iron body. It's just feet. It's feet. It's fighting system. Look at that. This guy is super surprised at the skill level of this young guy. He's a pro MMA fighter.
벌써 왜 이걸 안 하냐면 지금 호흡하고 중세 호흡하고 완전히 이게 다 이해 클래스 같아요.
Because they train like
와,
진짜 잘하는데요.
even if there's no
제가 앞에서 느낀 거는 키 너무 날카로워요.
예.
알 수 없는 각도에서 계속 막 이렇게 저렇게 요렇게 나면
I think he was saying like
이거 통합부팅에서 충분히 쓸 수 있는 기술이 너무
you
많이
can
있다.
see the kicks coming. There's no telegraph of it.
이거
Come out of nowhere.
오블리킥 비슷한 킥 뭐죠? 그 정강이 차지는 거?
아 이제 촛대 차지라고요. 발 하나로 저번에 우리 지난번에 그 변호선 촛대 차지가 기술이거든요. 발 뒤꿈치 쪽으로.
My feeling is that if more people studied Taekyon and it became like an international martial art, then I could easily see it rivaling kickboxing. Muay Thai is a little tough. Muay Thai is so hardcore because these kids train since they were like 7 years old. Like you're not going to replace that kind of experience. You know, by the time they're 18, they've already been in hundreds of fights. Like that kind of fight IQ can only be experienced if you train young and you're exposed to a lot of competition. So unless Korea is willing to put their youth, and Korea's already having a crazy birth rate, right? I don't think they are really interested in having that kind of environment for their, you know, like the kids. Like they're literally almost like in Thailand. I think these kids who do Muay Thai almost like orphans, right? Where they're just dropped off and they're raised by this Muay Thai gym. but I don't think Koreans are willing to go to those levels. If they are, I could see some amazing Taekwondo fighters. And if it's more adopted, if it overtakes Taekwondo, I do feel like it could be a legitimate martial arts that could rival Muay Thai. But I just don't think the culture of Korea would allow something like that, especially where you have schools where they just literally have just one student. The birth rate is so low in Korea. It's crazy. I really hope these can turn around, and I think it will. I just imagine in my head that there's just going to be a point where there's not a lot of people. And usually in those situations, I think people feel more comfortable. It's just, I almost think it's like supply and demand, but there is going to be, I feel like there is going to be a point where there's just not a lot of people, and that's going to create a supply, right? A supply for anybody who wants to work. I think that's going to create a situation where, almost like the Black Death, right? After the Black Death, there was a time of prosperity because a lot of people died. At least that's what I heard. So I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's going to get to a point where society is just not enough people. So whoever is just out there willing to work is going to be given a job, and they're going to be paid well because there's not a lot of competition. And I also think that what happens when you do have, and I think it's gonna have a problem with the economy too, like the low birth rate. So with that, it might be poverty, times of poverty. And when you have poverty and then you have this just like perfect storm, my prediction is that there will be a rise in birth rate. It's just the cycle of life. You got to remember, like, I think even in America, we didn't even have that many people in this country. Right now, we have supposedly like over 300 million people living in America. So I think Korea, historically, 50 million people is still a lot of people for a country the size of a quarter of the size of California. So, I know a lot of news likes to create a doom and gloom situation, but I don't think so. I think it's just a cycle. I think the world right now is going through a period of prosperity, and we may be entering into a period of a depression, economic depression, that's going to affect everybody. And then in those conditions, if it stays like that long enough, believe it or not, it actually increases birth rate. I mean, the poorest countries in the world, like India, has some of the highest birth rates because it's not intuitive, but having poverty, it does something. I feel like people who do live in a situation where they don't have a lot of comforts and abundance, they have more grit. Also, maybe tend to be more grateful, and not so doom and gloom. And maybe that's what drives them to not worry about having more kids. In fact, having more kids is a blessing. As you become wealthier, it does seem as if people feel a little bit more like they feel a little bit more need to hold on to that wealth as much and those comforts as much as possible, which sadly enough, usually what happens is birth rate goes down because you care more about the comforts than having a family. But then the opposite is true as well. When you don't have anything and just sky's the limit, you just have a ton of kids and things always end up working out. I mean, Cambodia is a very poor country. And if you look at the generation, the older generation, like they had like 9 or 10 kids. How did they do that? It's because it really doesn't cost a lot to raise a kid. It's just what kind of standard of living are you willing to have, right? If your standard is you're willing to live literally on a dirt floor and 10 people sleep in a room, and that's your standard, and you're grateful for that, and you're grateful every day, that God has blessed you with, with this life that you have, then you will have kids. It's just how it is. Sorry, I'm really rambling. But yeah, that all comes back to this. I don't know how I got up on that tangent, guys. But hey, if you even stuck it out this long, then kudos. But yeah, it's almost to the 2-hour mark, and it's about almost 10 o'clock here, and I know it's time for me to go to bed. And I hope this has been helpful for anybody who stuck it out and is willing to listen to just a middle-aged Korean man out here in America. But I hope all of you have a great day and a great month and a great year. And I know, keep it positive. As I like to say, just keep it positive and good things will come your way. All right, take care, guys.